Hi, this is Christophe Clermont from EFI and welcome to another tutorial of the event selector item. In this tutorial, I will do everything from scratch. So we start exactly like in the first one. We take an event selector, drag it to the tree. It works, it creates all the data, all the tables, everything is there. But now we go in here and remove everything inside and build it up completely new. So we have just the blank event selector item here. And now let's learn how the data binding concept works and how to bring the things to life if you don't have anything, which is in practice not the case because you always have a fully fledged working item and you will probably not go that route. But for the learning purpose, I think that's a very good attempt. So let's say we take an event data text and just put it in here. It will show you, it comes with a default value, which is xmedia ID equals xmedia ID. I will explain that in a second. So when we go on data, we will see that this is actually repeating all the records from our event data relation and showing the xmedia IDs. So everything we drag into the event selector item will be automatically repeated when we enter the data preview mode. The only exception is what we talk later, it's a header and a footer element. So let's make this bookable. So first of all, we have this text here, and this is a syntax which looks maybe a little bit weird on the first hand, but it's actually not as complex. So what we can do in this items is basically we can write text, but we have to write it in quotes, hello text, because if we don't write it in quotes, it will be not text. If we just leave out the quotes, we will probably get an error which says that it's unable to parse the bindings and the value hello text is an unexpected identifier. So why? Because everything which is not in quotes will be taken as an expression from the data binding. So when we turn on the quotes here to just get rid of the error and then go to the event selector and turn on the debug informations, we see a lot of details here. It's a little bit overwhelming. So let's eat the elephant by the bite and went through this. So first of all, we got database items, which is actually every column from your database. So even if you add your own columns, they will appear here, which is pretty cool. So we got xmedia ID, of course, it's the ID of the table. We got the seeds column, the start, the end date, and it's passed to a date here. So don't get confused with that. You don't have to deal with that because the date is a very good example that you don't want to deal with that start format, but you want to have this as an easy readable format, which you get in properties here because there are some computed properties for you which make it easier to use them. But first of all, for the database columns. So we got xmedia ID, seed, start, booked, title, category, details. We get everything which is in the database. So whenever we want to display something from the database, we can simply take that. So we go in the field here and write, let's say, title. And we have to always put brackets behind that identifiers to make sure they work properly. So we got hone your knife skills. So if we enter the data mode, we will get all the different ones with all the debug informations here. As well, so we can turn out the debug information. We will turn them on and off again, quite some times. So you can also combine this now. You can say title plus. So that's a JavaScript expression which actually concats these both strings. And by the way, there are also other JavaScript expressions possible here. So you can just do that and you see it like this, but you also can do other JavaScript expressions like, for example, 2 plus 3. And I think we will get a 5 here. That will work as well. Which also means that you can do simple things like turning off visibility of certain text or displaying different text if there's a certain value, which could be very handy. So this is our title. So let's say that's a title, and then we add as well the category. So let's put category in here, and double colon and category, our field name. So we see now this is the title and we got the category. Another option you have is using Markdown syntax, and we only implemented a very simple version of it. It just supports 2 additional styles. We called them bold and quote. So when you want to use the bold style, you can simply do 2 stars before and at the end of the word, and if you do so, it will automatically apply this style. And of course, when we want to say the category, this is the title. Let's say the title, that's a very important thing. So we want to make the title a little bit more bold. So we can say 2 stars at the beginning and then the title, and then we do 2 stars in the end. The stars always have to be inside the quotes. So we got this as a title style. So we can actually reduce the other style to a normal one. Pretty nice. And if you want to have the category in a different style, we can use this with a single star. So let's category and quotes and a single star. And now we are able to use this different style here. So we got a list of our events. And if we want to book them, we need, of course, some action. And this is exactly what the event interaction provides us. So the event interaction provides us not just a flex container. It can turn on and off the visibility, so it can be visible or not, depending on a certain state of your session. And also it can perform as a button to execute an interaction. So we got this event booking interaction section here, and in the interaction drop-down, we can actually pick between non-predefined and custom. I will come to custom later. You actually not really need it because predefined contains all the options that are needed for just using all the things that you see in the debug view of the item. So let's say we want to book a session. So we want to make a button which books a session. The item is very kind and already gives us an icon. So that's easier for you. And this is because there is a show icons button here. So when we turn this off, we don't get an icon, but you still can click on this thing and put your own text in here, which says book. And then you can click on the book text. So let's go with the icons. And we have also a feature pointer on mouse over, which makes it easier for you so you don't have to do the CSS for that. So this now gives me an icon and a pointer, and then click on that. And now it's disappearing when I click it. So why? Because I supposedly have selected that session, which means the select button is not anymore available. This is the reason why this is automatically hidden. So this one performs a couple of tasks. It gives you a button for selecting a session, but it only shows up only if it's possible to select that session. So pretty cool. So let's just take another one. And this one, we say we want to have again a predefined interaction, and we choose cancel booking. So right now we see the first one is checked. So this may be a little bit confusing, but the cancel booking button actually shows as a checker because it's already booked. So before I can cancel, I need to book it. So that's why the cancel button looks like it's booked. So when I click on this, this one actually hides itself and the book session gets visible. So that's the most simple combination here of these both. There are a couple of other states, which actually we need to fill out all of them to make the system work. And this is what the template, when you drag it in, already does. But as I promised, we're doing it all by hand here. So let's copy that one and say we need cancel, and we need another state. So we want to have one that indicates sold out. So we got book session, we have this, we got canceled session, we got submit booking, that will be our submit button later, so we come to that, but we need to indicate if a seminar is sold out. So because that's a state. If I want to book that seminar, but it's sold out, I need to get this shown. Another state we will need is indicate time overlap. So if there are two seminars in the same time frame, we want to indicate a time overlap. And what you see when I add this, it automatically appears here because we selected the first one, so it shows an overlap. So that is swapping. If I remove this one again, we don't have anything here because when I click on this, this is not bookable. Same with here. So complex stuff, but simple to do. And so let me indicate time overlap. To improve the display, let's take just another flex container. That could be a normal flex container as well. But anyhow, we can take this one because if we don't add interaction, this just behaves like a normal container. And if we turn on the mouse over effect, nothing is left here. So let's put the title in here and let's flow our items to the left side here. We see that we have two overlaps over here. So we should get rid of one of them. So we got the time overlap and the time overlap here. So let's delete one of these. Another option we have inside this list is to have details. So we want to show the details or we want to hide the details. This is also part of the logic of the event selector. So what we can do is we can add a text frame here. Just put it like here. And this text frame, we want to show the details. So simply go details, and here we go. We can change the text style to something small and maybe even smaller, doesn't matter. And what we want to do is we want to actually let this thing collapse or expand depending on if I click here, let's say on the headline. I can do that because when I add two things. One thing I need to add is again an event interaction container, put the details into it, and predefined, we set this flex container to details content here. So that means that this is only shown if the details are visible. To make it happen that we can show these details, we can simply, for example, take the text here and wrap this again into a flex interaction. And this flex interaction, we can give the predefined action, which is called toggle details. So when we click now on this, we can actually toggle and hide and show the details here. The other thing which we want to maybe add is the date or the time on which the seminar happens. To do that, we can add another flex container here, and then let's say we give it a height of whatever 30 pixel. Oops. And we put a text in here, and that text should show us the current date. So if we are not sure how we can access the current date, we can simply click and turn on the debug information. So we will now see all the values we have. Beside that kind of ugly original date, we also can go and have a look at the start date and the start time here, which reads much better in the current locale of the user which is using the computer. Let me just copy. This is the start date variable. I can actually just copy that start date variable, go in here, and just paste it there. So we have now, maybe I should do that a little bit bigger, otherwise the design gets kind of ugly, or I just even should not give it any height. So let's just put it to auto, and it looks better. So we now see November, and this seminar is on the 2nd as well. And this one is on the 3rd and another one on the 3rd. So let's turn out the debug again, get a better overview. So we got the date before every seminar. One feature you have seen in the ready-made tree is that we only show the date if the date changes from seminar to seminar, because the system automatically sorts all the seminars by date. So the only thing we have to do is we can tell that flex container here, again, predefined action, and it now goes in the indicate section here and indicate and you can have something like indicate next day. So this flex container will only be displayed if the next day is available here. So we got only 3 entries here. And the same thing we can actually do with the time slot. So when we go here and we say that's the start time, and the flex container we set to predefined indicate next time slot. So that's, since there are all different time slots here, we will see them all actually grouped in here. So the last thing we're missing in our repeating here in the repeat model of the sessions is the thumbnail from the database. Let's take another event interaction in here and give it a width and a height, some color. And now, since we are using the event interaction, we can choose data binding as a source for the image. And if we do so, we get the same like with the data text, just a field where we can enter the database. Of course, we can change the size to cover. We can also assign a toggle details to that image, so that we click on the image, it would behave like we click on the headline here. So let's go to the image and change the action to predefined and then toggle details. The last thing we are missing here is the header with the submit button and of course the countdown. I think you remember that everything that we drag into the event selector will get repeated. So let's have the event interaction and again an event data text, and this time Xmedia ID appears for every session we have in the list. So to create something like a header with so-called what we call a different data context, we simply give this the name header. And now we get an error. Because why? It says that they are unable to bind the Xmedia ID. So that's our expression. This is the expression which you're using in the data text, and it says it doesn't work. So when you ask yourself why is this the case, one thing really can help. So first of all, we need to remove that to get our view back, but then we can turn on the debug infos. And in the debug infos now, you see that the data which we have available in the header is different than the data we have available for the sessions. Because there is no session, it's just the header. So we got actually the booked sessions as a value from the, not the event, not the session database, but from the customer database, from the campaign database. And we got a flag here that says us if we could submit, and we get some countdown helpers here, which allows us to check if the countdown is active, how many minutes the countdown have, and how many seconds the countdown have. And we got finally a method to submit our booking. So, and the same with the sessions, we don't have to remember all that because we all get it kind of out of the can with our event interaction item. So let's do the countdown. First of all, in the header, we could say we could display the countdown, but we only want to display it if there is a need for that. So we got, as already mentioned, with the flags here, we got a helper which indicates if the countdown is active. So indicate running countdown. And we can also indicate stop countdown. So if we want to show a message, please select an option to book, then that would be indicate stop countdown. So now we take indicate running countdown, and in the text we can go, and then we need to understand what the methods are called. So we got countdown.minutes, we copy that, and then we paste it in here and say countdown.minutes plus, and make a colon, plus countdown.seconds. Seconds, and then we say plus space left dot. So won't appear much, but in the moment I change the selection, I actually get the countdown here, which indicates how many time I have left. The last and really last thing we would need now is a button to submit this. And again, it's a flex interaction item. So let's put this in here, which is actually the wrong place because we need it in the header. So maybe we can also put it in here because we only want to see it if the countdown is running. It actually has its own logic to ensure that's only visible if the thing is submittable, predefined, and simply say submit booking. So that's now an activity again, like with the book checker here or cancel checker. And in that we can use data text and say, again, we get an error here. That's not nice. Submit bookings. And we make this a little bit colorful so it appears a little bit more like buttons. Let's say this gets blue, and we have some corner radius here, and the text style of our submit booking, we do have something in white, form button text. So whenever we change some selections, we got this button here. I need to set again the background to the total area, so we got the padding shown, and then we can, I admit it's not the most beautiful design now, so that should do the job here. So we got our submit bookings button, which is only visible if a real booking has changed here. So when we do that, we submit it, things is reloading, and we see that this is not selected anymore. Finally, let's turn off the debug. So we got a nice view, and we can check something, we can submit, it's now saved to the database. That's all. That's the complete way how you can build these event selector from scratch. One last thing is that there is not only a header, there's also a footer. If you want to have this, okay, if I copy that, there's only one header, it gives me an error again, but I can quickly rename it to footer, and then just drop it on the end of the list. So now we got the same navigation repeated in the footer. So if I check something, I see submit and my countdown over here as well. So that's it. Thank you for listening. That's all you need to build this event selector from scratch. Hope to talk to you next time.